game is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Top 100 Clubhouse Podcast. I'm your host, James Henderson. I'm joined by Jasper Miners, the editor of the website. How are you, Jasper?
Yeah, doing really well. We're in Royal Porthcawl.
Yep, probably one of the coolest clubs you can go to in the UK.
It's very rare that you get a golf course of this caliber that is matched by a club and clubhouse of a similar caliber, but they've got it here.
Very much so. There's an atmosphere here that is very unique to the best clubs in the game of golf. Very much so.
Yeah, if you haven't been, you have to come enjoy the golf course, stay in the dormy, accommodation, and spend as much time as you can around the bar with the members. They will make you feel like an old friend. And yeah, you could literally spend all day in the clubhouse, which we've done today.
Yep.
And I don't feel like going home.
Yeah, I think we're forgetting it's lunchtime, and it's like,
yeah, we've got work to do.
Yeah, this is amazing. But everywhere you turn, they shake your hand and welcome you, and it's not us forcing them to say hello. It's them curious and wandering up and saying hello.
And the staff as well is absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, Royal Porthcawl has delivered on every level. I've been before, but not to play, and this will firmly become part of the regular stops each year to come and see the course and see the clubhouse again.
One of the cool things I've noticed about the staff is a lot of places of the standing and here hold up very high standards in terms of the quality of output that they want from all parts of the environment. But they don't curtail the personality, which is really cool and hard to do. And it's a very welcoming experience because of that.
I think what's really interesting about these types of clubs is that you can tell that this is the fabric of the club has been woven over an extensive period of time, and it's who and what the club is. It's not been curated. It's not been forced. They've done a very good job of evolving to this point. It's taken more than 130 years, but it's been a worthy investment because it's an absolutely astonishing place.
Well, a great example of is the fact that you're not even allowed a fork in here.
I love it. And it's those little things. If you have chips, you can't have in the bar. You've got to have it in the dining room.
But you're allowed a sandwich.
You can't have a sandwich.
Yeah.
Which is, it's all of those little details that make a true club with personality. Those little wrinkles, those little details, nuances, idiosyncrasies. And it's not something that puts you off. It actually endears you to the club because you know that there's a story behind all of that. And there's a reason for it.
But it's a bad way to start a podcast about the Irish rankings.
That is true, but we should get into that.
But we should probably move over into the Irish rankings. So, Jasper, what's changed? What's happening? How's it all going with Irish rankings?
Usually, although Top 100 has never had like an established rule of ranking updates, the cadence has always been once every 2 years, roughly. Last year, we had what we termed as a reset across the GB&I and the major countries within it. So Northern Ireland, Ireland, Wales, England, Scotland. And Ireland probably had the largest amount of change last year. And what we realized was it was the first year that we did a Island of Ireland ranking, so combining Northern Ireland and Ireland, the Republic. And then we did the 4 provinces, if you will. So similar to what they do in rugby. And we came out with the top 25. So now this year, we've extended that to 30. The interesting thing about Ireland this year is that the European club has been sold. It's been closed. Kyle Phillips has been brought in to redo it, and it will now be called British Bay.
British Bay.
British Bay. And they've got a really good logo.
Do they?
It's just
a strong logo.
Yeah, strong logo. It's a modern logo. It's a bird. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, head over to the website, British Bay. Now, the other new golf course.
British Bay, the area that it's in.
Exactly. Yeah. So just south of Dublin. Similar on that coastline, so southeast Ireland, there's another golf course that Fry Straka has been building, and that's called Curracloe Links. I hope I'm saying that right. Curracloe and British Bay. So those are the two golf courses that we'll be intrigued to see. First blush at Curracloe, they have a very small bit of links land on the edge of the golf course, and it looked like it was being called a links for the sake of maybe one or two holes on that. But the story goes on their website, again, if you head over there and look, is that inland, they moved to what was farmland. And after they scraped away the topsoil and a bit of clay, they found a massive sandbank.
Oh, wow.
So the golf course is very much a full sand site after a little bit of work. Again, I don't know how much of that is marketing hype or storytelling or reality, but I'm very curious to see now what that will come out like.
Well, it's the classic thing, right? So the amount of times you hear these things about a links golf course and it's all links, but majority of Scottish golf courses do venture into farmland at points. You know, it's not all... maybe the top stuff doesn't, but majority of it does. And even if they do find a lot, maybe half the new holes, the non-links holes, have been found sand, they can dig that sand out and find ways of using it in the other areas.
Well, and I think Cabot Old Petty is probably a really good example of that, where there was sand on site, but they had to stockpile that. The hole that they dug to get the sand out of, that's where all the clay went, and then they covered that over and shifted it around. So again, we come back to the point that the best golf courses are built on sand, and Curracloe looks like they've had enough to do it properly. So what that means for the rankings, though, is that European Club was quite highly ranked in GB&I and in the Irish rankings, as you'd expect. Now that that's been closed for an entire year, it's not available to play. That's come out of the rankings, and it seems like Kyle Phillips will have a fairly major redo there. So we will play it after we see it in 2027 and then reintroduce it to the rankings along with Curracloe. What that means is that a lot of the golf courses that are slightly above it or below it have shifted.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is that we had a very good panel in Ireland, mostly around Dublin. Very well played, both in Ireland, but also in the rest of GB&I and wider afield, continental Europe and the rest of the world. And this is true for all of the rankings that we'll put out over the next couple of weeks when it comes to England and Scotland especially, is that we have a very extensive panel network around the world. Roughly about 200 people help us with our rankings. And we had a massive amount of expats, so individuals that were either born or bred in GB&I or Ireland that had played extensively, that come back and visit family members every year, spend 1, 2, 3 months in Ireland, play golf regularly at all the top clubs, but they weren't on our panel because they were located in America. And what we felt was that these individuals could contribute and really help us deepen our views. So we've included now those individuals and we've listened to what they have to say, not just in Ireland, but in the other countries as well. And I think that's helped us to not only go from 25 courses, but to 30. And there might even be a couple of more. We're just finalizing the last few, but also establishing a contenders list. So I think for Ireland, it's probably the best ranking that we've come out with. There's definitely a leaning towards links, with Parkland's moving down a little bit. But that's just a reflection, I think, of the Americans weighing in
having
on
a world standard rather than a local standard.
Exactly. And to your point, I think that's the thing, is that when you have the best Parklands in the world in America, and you have individuals that play those parklands regularly or are members of some of the best parkland golf courses in the world, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, et cetera, et cetera. When they come to England, Scotland, Ireland, their perspective on what makes parkland golf courses good, if not great, is very different than the novelty of finding a very good parkland when we're used to playing links and heathland here in the UK.
I do find it interesting because we do have an underappreciation in the UK of what we have. The quality of the golf in terms of the links land that we have and the history we have with great golf designers is forgotten about. Whereas you speak to any of the great American architects, they dream of having the sites that we're undermining by saying that this parkland's better than it.
It's a really weird inflection point at the minute. I think a lot of golfers in the UK look at America and they think, isn't it really cool what they're doing over there? Maybe we can try and do more of that. And actually the Americans are kind of looking back at what we've always had here and saying, maybe we should be more like them. So you have these two sides of the Atlantic that are looking at each other, trying to imitate one another. And I think at the minute, it seems like the really, really high-end stuff in America, not just private clubs, but just great golf. They're going back to less of a focus on manicured, well-presented, just perfect golf courses. And they're focusing on the things that actually matter. So the right type of turf, the right type of playing conditions, involving the ground game. And I mean, that can involve so many things. Approaches to greens that run away from you as opposed to tilted towards you, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on from there. But I think what we've seen here in the rankings is that some courses move up, some move down, but it's really a reflection of having the input of well-traveled, well-seasoned players that have a very broad perspective.
It's almost like we've gone from a situation where the two ends didn't meet. You know, it's like there was no chat over the pond. And now we've come to a situation where we feel like we've got to a point where we've balanced those situations very well.
Yeah, so, I mean, some of the courses that see a little bit of a rise, obviously there's a new course that's kind of come online in this past year at Royal Portrush. The big course everybody loves. It's one of the greatest golf courses in the world, the Dunluce. But then next door, the Valley course. They've got 3 new holes. That is a spectacular little golf course that I think most people played the Dunluce and then went on to the next big one. The other one that's nearby that sometimes gets overshadowed is the Strand at Port Stewart. That sees a little bit of a rise. So I think Northern Ireland is flexing its muscles a bit in this iteration.
They've done a lot of work on that golf course, and I do think that yes, it's spectacular in that front 8 holes through those dunes that the teacher built. It's so much fun. Some of the funnest golf you'll ever play. But the section from 8 to 14 now is arguably the best golf on the property. And I know they're about to start work on 16, 17, 18 there. So it's exciting because the amount of times I've walked off on 16 because you returned to the clubhouse and let's be honest, it can be a wee bit exposed. So when your underwear starts getting wet.
Time to call it a day and head for the bar. So I think those courses have risen, and there's good reason for them to do so. Some of the other courses fall. It was interesting, Rossapana, obviously they've got St. Patrick's Links as part of the World Top 100. That hasn't been affected. So we've aligned Ireland, GB&I with the world. It looks like there will be an update to the world ranking the end of 2026. And so when that does come through, whatever happens at the top will filter down. So there might be a little update to these rankings in due course. If, there are indeed changes at that level. But one thing that we've seen was the Old Tom Morris course getting a little bit more love. I think Sandy Hills was adored. A lot of people loved it. It reminded me a little bit of the Cashin course at Ballybunion. The potential is phenomenal, but the dunes and the land that it's on, the nature of the land is that those playing quarters are very narrow. And at some points it becomes, well, unless you're very, very accurate, it almost becomes unplayable. It's a battle of attrition. So it's not that we've gone cold on Sandy Links. I think it's still a phenomenal golf course. It's one of the best in Ireland. But I think what we've seen is maybe a little bit more love for the two contrasting nines that make up the Old Tom Morris course.
This episode is brought to you by the Lockhart Travel Club. We believe golf is more than a game. It's a journey. A journey we've made across 34 of the world's top 100 courses last year. And now is your turn. We curate bespoke travel experiences for passionate golfers who expect nothing but the best. Membership is limited, so join us at lockharttravelclub.com. Out of interest, Jasper, do you think that a place like is it Sandy, I've not been there, Sandy Hills?
Sandy Hills.
Do you think a place like Sandy Hills, where it does tighten a lot, if it had no weather issues, would get more respect? Or do you reckon because the weather is very exposed part of the country, it's probably windy majority of the time?
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily down to the elements that make it difficult. I think it is just it's on a ridge of dunes,
okay,
that make the corridors very, very narrow. And on a lot of them you play on top of the ridge lines as opposed to in the valleys. If it's blowing, it's a definite challenge. But I think even for the average golfer, sometimes it can be quite attritional. It's you try to survive there as opposed to take it on or challenge it or be a bit aggressive. I think the two courses there, Sandy Hills and Old Tom Morris, Sandy Hills definitely has masses of potential to be a really cool golf course. And then the knock against the Old Tom Morris is that the nines contrast. And that's what came back in some of the rankings that we were fed back. Me personally, if two nines contrast, I don't necessarily see that as a massive difference. There are some golf courses that play like on Linksland and then they kind of go into Heathland and then back out again.
Yep, very much so.
And that necessarily doesn't affect how we feel about them. But there is very much a contrast between the front nine and back nine at Old Tom Morris. So again, we have to listen to the panelists. They've spoken. We've taken their views on board. One of the things that was surprising, and maybe this is one that will cause a bit of consternation, is Old Head. So Old Head is one of those golf courses that it's a spectacular place to play golf. But it doesn't necessarily equate to great golf. So it's a little bit like, is it Naffin here in Wales? Where you have those cold holes out on like almost a headland. It's an amazing place to play golf. It's incredible sea holes, et cetera, et cetera. But whilst the experience is amazing to play golf there, it doesn't necessarily equate to being one of the great golf courses of Ireland in our latest rankings.
So is there any other changes that have happened, or is that...
So you look at the top 6 golf courses, the ones that are in the world ranking, they've remained as they are. Once we get past that, there is a bit of movement from, let's say, 7 through to 15. There's a lot of movement. Some of them are small changes, 1 or 2 spots, but I think we've seen courses like Sligo and Louth that perhaps maybe haven't been on everybody's radar. I think Louth, because it's usually the second course that most people play after they play Portmarnock. And Portmarnock has like this level of prestige because it's an elite club. it's difficult to get to or play on. That there's an expectation that it's just better. But I think if you were blindfolded and you were brought to the front gates and just allowed to play the golf courses, I think what we've heard back from a lot of our panelists is that the gap between those two golf courses is much more narrower than what many people would be led to believe. And maybe that's a top tip for a lot of people. If you can't get to Portmarnock when you're visiting Ireland, County Louth is...
If what people
don't
know is Jasper's just spent... How long were you in Ireland this year?
This last year, I spent 11 weeks, all said.
11, so I was about to say 3 months, but not far off.
Roughly 3 months.
So, and you can imagine a nerd of his standards would be playing and seeing everything he can. And the one course you came back going, okay, this is serious, was County Louth.
And again, I don't sit on the Irish panel. My job in all of this is to do a lot of the coordinating. So we have to send out all of the spreadsheets. Someone has to get those back. Then we have to collate all the results, put them into a standard so that we understand everything. And then when we share it with the panel for their feedback and a bit of moderation, we can look at what the general consensus is. And without doubt, County Louth was one of those courses that everyone on the panel felt we had been sleeping on for quite a while. So it's an interesting one to get that. I mean, it's been there forever. It's not like it's a new golf course. But I think we've seen a shift towards appreciating those subtle golf courses. Again, it's a phenomenal golf course. And I think the difference between Portmarnock and County Louth, 74th in the world, and then a non-ranked world ranked golf course, there's not much in it.
Do you think it's really difficult? And Portmarnock has the standing, so it's very different. But do you think it's very difficult for a subtle golf course to excel in a country known for massive dunes?
Well, I think that's exactly it. I think you get a golf course like County Louth, which is very elegant. It's very subtle. It doesn't play. It's not like it's the antithesis to Carn or even Rossapenna. Like there's nothing that makes you think of the to compare the two. Yeah, so to answer your question about a subtle golf course in Ireland, I think will be a little bit, it will have more difficulty. And I think the reason for that is that unless you've played a golf course like Portmarnock or County Louth multiple times, it's hard to truly appreciate how great it is. Where I think when you go to somewhere like Carn or Waterville, for example, it's in your face. You can absorb it. It doesn't take much to look at a massive dune that you either have to play over or around or manufacture shots to progress your ball around. You know, that's quite an easy thing to capture and understand what's going on. So I think that test of being able to get a connoisseur's opinion on those types of golf courses, I think that's why we've seen changes in the ranking, is because we've had people that were Irish born and bred, who played a lot of golf there, played the width and breadth of the entire country, and they've got an amazing playing portfolio on both sides of the pond and in Australia, New Zealand, where they've been able to say, actually, here's a golf course that's so much better than what most people give it credit for.
Do you think it also runs in a trend? So spectacular has very much been the word of the last 10 years.
I think it's very true. In the social media age, like, what does everybody want? They want the money shot, right? They want a Cape Kidnappers. They want a Carn. They want an Old Head. Like, where you just have this amazing golf course on this amazing piece of land. It looks great. It gets amazing interaction. Everybody likes it. And does that necessarily mean that that's great golf? Well, it's great for social media. But you get a golf course like Portmarnock, Muirfield, the old course, where you get a lot of individuals go to the old course and they sit on the first tee and they think, what is this? They walk off 18 and they say, well, it's completely overrated. It's the most overrated golf course in the world. And then you get the greatest players and golf course architects. And it's the one course where you get like Jack Nicklaus, Bobby Jones, Tiger Woods
and then also Tom Doak and Gil Hans and whoever.
And the more they know about it, the more they play it, the more they understand it. Eventually, they all get to the point where they say, this is the greatest golf course in the world. And there's very few golf courses where architects and players eventually get to the same point. And that's testament to how great these golf courses are. But what do all these ones have in common is that they're nuanced, they're subtle, they're constantly evolving. The way that you play them changes. Every day is different. Those are the things. And I think that's reflected in some of the changes that have taken place in Ireland, where having depth of play through all of those courses, we can now reflect that in our rankings, that the appreciation for these things, it's not just one or two guys that have played it once or twice and walked away and said, yes, this should be here. Multiple plays over multiple years, a long history of playing golf in Ireland. They've been able to help us see that some of these courses we've maybe perhaps underappreciated in the past.
The last thing I would like to go on to about the Irish rankings is I know that we've got at least one event planned next year within Ireland, and maybe more coming where we'll try and gather and gain and introduce ourselves to get more panelists, because we're happy where our panel is now, but we'd always like to hear more opinions. And I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah. So there will be some more details about that forthcoming. By the time this airs, it might well be that that's become public. So keep your eyes on socials. Sign up to our newsletter, and all the details will come out there. But it looks like we've got some partners in and around Dublin and potentially Donegal that we can put these events on. So it'll be spectacular golf. Can't say much about the company that you might be keeping if James and I are there, but we'll try our best to behave ourselves with the Guinness and the no doubt Kilkenny that we'll be running.
Do you like Irish whiskey?
I do.
Oh,
I love
God.
Irish whiskey.
Damn, because so do I. It's dangerous.
So if any Irish whiskey brands would like to sponsor either the podcast or the event, please
I promise we won't drink too much.
So yeah, no, we're looking forward to Ireland. It's always great. The golf there is spectacular. We've got 30 or 35. There might even be more. There's a little bit of feedback that we're still awaiting. We're just coming into the playing season. So we're waiting for a few people to take a few trips and then give us their final results. And that might just adjust or tweak or settle some of the questions that we have outstanding. So more or less we're there, but I think it gives a good synopsis of where we're at with Ireland at the minute.
Superb. Well, thank you very much, Jasper. I know that there's a Guinness sitting in the bar waiting for you. So speaking about Irish rankings, should we go get stuck in?
I think so.
Cheers.
Top100golfcourses.com has set the standard for golfers worldwide, and now you can wear that standard proudly. Premium apparel and exclusive gear for those who truly know the game. Shop now at top100golfcourses.com.